When I bought the old textile warehouse on the edge of Brentwood Commons, I wasn't looking to start any problems. After over 2 decades as a county sheriff, I'd grown to appreciate the quiet, orderly places where life just hums along. My plan was simple enough. I wanted to convert the old space into a local logistics hub for off-duty deputies and veterans looking for a second shot at work. I had the permits in hand, zoning clearance, and even a commendation from the county board for creating local jobs. But none of that mattered to the HOA president, Loretta Karen Withers. Loretta, it seemed, had a vision of a perfect, cookie-cutter community, and my warehouse, with its clearly marked delivery bays and half-frozen parked trucks, was a visual disruption to her ideal of aesthetic harmony. It started with a letter that, to anyone familiar with HOA overreach, seemed all too predictable. The letter was printed in elegant, cursive script on HOA letterhead, addressed to Mr. Heron. It read, "Dear Mr. Heron, our records indicate that your property, while adjacent to Brentwood Commons, visually impacts the community. The presence of commercial trucks and non-residential equipment violates Section 8 of the Brentwood HOA bylaws regarding community image. Please remove all vehicles within 72 hours or face daily fines and possible legal action." I couldn't help but laugh when I read it, not because it was funny, but because it felt so familiar. Intimidation disguised as civility, a classic HOA move. But I wasn't about to get rattled. I decided to respond courteously, addressing the issue with facts. I penned a letter back. "Dear Miss Withers, thank you for your concern. As a matter of jurisdiction, my property lies outside the HOA's enforceable zone. It is commercially zoned under County Ordinance 217C. My trucks are lawfully parked, registered, and inspected. Any attempt to issue fines or restrict access may be subject to county review. Respectfully, Sheriff Charles Harland, retired." I figured that would be the end of it. But Karen, it seemed, didn't like hearing no. Within a week, she called code enforcement, filing noise and blight complaints against my warehouse. She even claimed that one of my trucks was abandoned. But I had dashcam, footage, permits, and GPS logs to prove otherwise. Then Karen made her biggest mistake. One Monday morning, I arrived at the warehouse to find 2 of my parked semis had been booted and tow-scheduled signs were duct taped to their windshields. A private towing company, hired by the HOA, was already lined up down the street. They had no idea who they were messing with. I walked up to the lead driver, keeping my tone calm but firm. "Son," I said, "you're about to illegally tow registered vehicles from private, commercially zoned property. You're trespassing, and if you take another step, I'll have to take official action." The driver laughed at me, clearly not understanding the gravity of the situation, until I pulled out my badge. Retired or not, I was still an auxiliary officer. Within minutes, 2 Mark County patrol units arrived on the scene, and the tow company immediately backed off. One of my deputies handed them a cease and desist letter while I dialed county zoning. Karen, still standing near the entrance, was visibly fuming in her matching linen set and oversized sunglasses. I called out to her. "Miss Withers," I said, "you've now committed multiple offenses: trespassing, attempted unlawful seizure of property, and fraudulent representation of HOA authority. I strongly suggest you contact your legal counsel." She sputtered something about community standards and protecting property values, but it didn't matter anymore. The county quickly issued her a formal notice of overreach. A week later, the HOA board quietly voted to remove Karen as president. It seemed I wasn't the only neighbor tired of her endless crusades. Now my warehouse runs peacefully. We employ 10 local residents, maintain the area's cleanliness, and even host free safety classes for the neighborhood. Ironically, some members of the HOA even came by to thank me. As for Karen, the last I heard, she was attempting to get on the neighborhood beautification committee. This time, however, without the power trip. She learned the hard way. Never try to outsmart a sheriff on his own turf. Moral of the story: stand firm for what is right, even when facing opposition or authority figures who try to impose their will unjustly. Uphold your rights with integrity and respect for the law, as doing so not only protects your interests, but can also inspire others to take a stand against unjust practices. Sometimes it's not about avoiding conflict, but about ensuring fairness and justice prevail.